This is Ron Peters.
I'm Sam Long.
And I'm John Nugent.
Welcome to the After Class Podcast.
Because the best conversations happen
After class.
Thanks for joining us. Another episode of the After Class Podcast. We're glad to have you along. We, the three of us, have been away from each other for a couple weeks, traveling and other things.
Very far away.
Well, sure. The UP's far-ish away. You were up there in your
our cabin out in the middle of the woods, out in the middle of nowhere. Very little internet connection, very little connectivity whatsoever. But I mean, for me to get to our place up in the Keweenaw Peninsula, up in the UP, it's the same distance as if we went south. We'd go through 3 other states.
Correct.
And so it is a long way. I mean, you almost can't get any further north in Michigan without falling into Lake Superior.
Is it 8 hours?
10.
10. Oh, geez. That's like going to my parents' house in Alabama.
Yeah, it's a long drive. But it's glorious because, we're out in the middle of nowhere. And so we spent almost 2 weeks up there, and it was fantastic.
Nice. I'm glad you got to do that. I spent a week in Kentucky. My daughter works at a Bluegrass Christian, what is it? Bluegrass Christian camp? Let's go with that. Anyway, where she grew up going to. Now she goes back and gives back and works with kids. And so she's old enough to drive by herself, and she could have, but my wife was like, we can go down there. So we were there. And we were there during Burger Week, which about 40 restaurants partner, and they put out their gourmet burger. And so for $7, you get whatever burger that they have come up with, and tried some pretty decent ones. I think the ones I like best, added extra meat. So you had your patty, had one with andouille sausage, which
my gosh.
Right. I never thought
that would
let's
be fantastic.
go.
Yeah, bring it.
Very good. And they had one with smoked pork, which I've had that before, but so there were nice different takes on burgers, and all very delicious, and so enjoyed that. Had too much of that, but that's the way it goes.
How many different burgers did you actually have?
I think I tried 12 or 13.
Oh, wow.
That is so many burgers.
I'm
my
aware.
Gosh.
My wife made that comment as well.
I'm sure you didn't eat the whole burger. They cut them in pieces?
No, I ate the whole burger. What
Really?
What are you talking about?
Wait, within what time frame did you do all
so,
this?
Okay, there are these 40 restaurants. You have to go to the restaurant to get their specific burger. So it's for a week. And so I would have lunch and dinner and maybe a third if
all right,
needed.
I'm tracking more.
But some people try to eat all of them, which is crazy and probably not super healthy. But
I thought it was like a festival where you had the
that would be
and
fun.
they had a quarter burger and
right.
you try this one, try that one.
Like a sampler, a flight, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's not what this is. You go to the restaurant, you buy their burger, you eat it there. Yeah.
So can you still button up your pants? That's like
the
big question.
I mean, yeah.
Mostly. Arteries might be a different story.
I mean, I mean, all my pants these days require the stretchy band. I mean, I don't buy normal pants anymore. What are you talking about?
Those days are long gone.
It's got to grow and contract with me.
Where are we? Yeah.
At what point of life?
It's summer especially.
Yeah. Which I'll say, the stretchy band is the greatest thing that's happened to pants since, cuffs. I don't know.
Pockets.
I think you're absolutely right on that. So, John, what's been going on with you?
Well, I haven't gone anywhere. We did some update. There's a lot of things going on campus, and moving that along. I think one of the greatest things is, the new fiscal year has started, so the grad program staff has arrived. Aaron Woods is on staff with us now. Paul Kissling
this morning.
is on staff with us, and so now I'm handing over management of the program over to them, so we're in transition, and they're starting to do great things, and we already have 7 full-time students and 6 part-time students enrolled in the program.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Which is the equivalent of 10 full-timers, and we needed the equivalent of 9 to be viable.
All right.
So financially for the program to finance itself. And so we're not done. There's still applicants who haven't been fully processed, but those are all people who are already registered for their classes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and we still have time. So, we're hoping we're going to be considerably above what we need so we can start to become, financially profitable for the school as well as profitable for our students getting a great education. So,
and I'm hoping I have the class done by then. So,
yeah,
no, I've been working hard. It's been fun to create the class and figure out what I'm talking about. Now it's got to fill in some gaps.
And I had advanced peek at it. It's going to be pretty great.
Oh, thanks.
Yep.
I praise.
Yes, indeed.
From the folks upstairs.
Other than that, I've been waging
here we go
mechanical warfare on my pool.
Oh yeah,
my pump.
You and that pool.
My pump died.
Oh, that's not important.
And I also need to replace the filter.
Yeah, well, those are not the two most important parts of it, right?
And anyway, I had to. So that's no problem. I mean, it's going to take 2 days of plumbing because it's really crazy to fit with where the existing pipes are. The inlets and outlets don't line up nicely to how these two things connect.
Sweet.
And so it's been, interesting Mario Luigi situation. And however, the bigger thing is I've gone like a week without my pump running because I ordered them online and they had to be shipped from upstate New York, and that takes a while apparently. And so I have to keep the water moving without the help of a pump. And so I've had to be very creative and work strange hours and use some pumps and robots to circulate things.
A lot of cannonballs.
Else, because it's been really hot and really sunny, we're talking about evaporating chlorine and having to manually add chlorine and stir it up. And so I don't end up with a giant algae battle so that I have to wage mechanical and chemical warfare. So, and all that had to happen with urgency because last night we hosted a pool party for Great Lakes' Promise program. So we had 20 teenagers and a bunch of staff at my house for a pool party.
Yes.
So I've had to keep it
You don't want it green.
clean and properly chemical without the help of the things that do that. So. Yeah, it's been fun.
It's funny
It's
from
been a fun
my
week.
perspective. I know if not for you.
It's been a fun week.
Yeah. To the outside observer, it is hilarious, but not to the guy who's doing it.
Yeah.
The biggest upgrade to the pool because I also have a new diving board since people
really?
complained about it cracking under their weight.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
I mean,
I
so
had
many
no
things to
idea.
be said. I don't,
The light people don't say that.
I'm right. I'm like, there are solutions that
I
don't
know,
involve
right?
a new diving board.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Other ways we can address the problem of weight.
I'll just say it's a great irony that the nonviolent person in the room is waging the most warfare.
Exactly.
It is true. It is true. So, as funny as that all is, the Bible can be funnier.
Oh, hey.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Great.
We're in the
great
middle of
transition.
our Bible series on humor in the Bible. I don't know if we have an official title, but
I've
something
been
like
calling
that.
it holy humor. If you don't like it,
Holy
it's too
humor is
late.
great.
It's already out
And
there.
there is a great transition from the last passage we talked about last week to the first passage we're talking about this week. We ended on 2 Kings 1, verses 7 and 8, talking about a certain hairy man, right?
Right.
Who was referred to as the Lord of Hair, the Master of Hair. And that's how we ended our last episode. And we're going to begin with the opposite extreme, 2 Kings 2.
Yep. So Elijah was the hairy man. He has gone up in a chariot of fire to some other place, Americas, I think he was taken to, and the person who follows him is Elisha. And there's this great story. Well, anyway, we'll get to it. I'll read it and then we'll talk about it. It's in 2 Kings chapter 2, starting in verse 23. It says, He went up from there to Bethel, that's Elisha, and while he was going on the way, some small boys, we'll get to that, came out of the city and jeered at him, saying, Go away, bald head. Go away, bald head. I don't know. There's so many other translators like baldy. I like baldy better, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds really good.
Going up, baldy. Anyway, when he turned around and he saw them, he cursed them in the name of Yahweh. Then 2 she-bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the boys. And from there he went on to Mount Carmel and then returned to Samaria. I know we shouldn't laugh at these sorts of things, but there's a lot going on. First of all, like you said, they go from the hairy guy to the bald guy who's lacking hair apparently on various levels, and they curse him in that, or they mock him, and then he curses them, and like the details that are often included in the Bible are just so funny. 2 she-bears, specifically the she-bears came out.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're grumpier than other bears.
Well, I mean,
but-
there is an old saying, don't come between a mama bear and her
Right.
cubs. So I guess maybe even back then they realized that a mama bear is pretty scary.
Yeah,
She was defensive,
Yeah.
of Elisha,
perhaps
apparently.
because of
Yeah,
her cubs are nearby, and God had a creative solution to deal with the mocking of his prophet.
Now that actually would have been really hilarious. So if it had been Elijah, the Lord of Hair, it's like, oh, sorry, I thought you were one of my cubs.
Thought you were
My
messing with
bad.
one of my kids.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry, all you people I just mauled. It's just a big misunderstanding.
Yeah. So I don't know. So that is it's funny from the perspective of like modern day, looking back on this sort of story. Like,
Yeah.
where does that happen, right?
Right.
There's a lot in this story. In fact, these 3 verses are often debated. A lot goes into these 3 verses, and there's not, I think, any clear consensus on any of it. For me, the translational choice of small boys is wrong.
Okay.
Right? That word can mean anything from a small boy to a young adult. The Hebrew word has a wide range, and so they've chosen specifically small boys because that makes the story worse.
So is
It
there
does,
only
yeah.
one word there?
Yeah,
And they translate as small boys.
correct.
They didn't even to say boys
Yes,
would have been to choose an age range, but then
Right.
to say small boys?
yes, or young boys even. I assume that's what they
okay.
mean, is but by small,
Yeah,
they
right.
mean young boys.
Yeah,
yeah.
interesting.
And so, well, this goes into like even the story of Abraham sacrificing Isaac. He's called, I believe, the same word, and so it's a range. People always assume, oh, he's a little kid he's killing. Well, no. What if he's a teenager?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's often
changes the
translated
story.
lad, right?
Right.
That was the old way of saying it.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it does make it sound horrific, though, because if you're thinking small boys, you're thinking like, elementary age kids.
Yeah.
And it becomes this like horrific scene out of a, horror movie of these little kids being, mauled by bears. And it's not so funny when you think about it that way.
right.
And so I'm kind of leaning away from that. I mean, this seems to be out of line with how the Bible would want to present this story.
I mean,
Here's
they've got to
these
be
little
old
kids.
enough to mock in a sufficient enough
Right.
to where a bald man would be ticked about it.
Yes.
Right. So
I
you
would
got to
agree.
have a little bit of relational credibility, and little boys saying, look at Baldy is different than like, hey, Baldy,
Yeah, like a bunch of teenagers.
you want to come over here and, I can use you as a crystal ball? I don't know. I don't know what their takedowns were back then.
I know, right?
Do you know what the word for maul is?
No,
Because I assume they're all dying. But is that word for maul? Could bears come and done like a rampage in their midst and scatter them and scare
Yeah,
them?
and
And
take some swipes and leave them with some bruises or some cuts, but not really like dead
Yeah.
kids.
and so to me, that's different, right?
Yeah,
If he's
without a
like, they're
doubt.
going out and killing all these people for mockery, that's a different scene than coming out and scaring the daylights out of them and send them running.
Because that would be hilarious to me if these two bears are like running in their midst, and all these kids start, they're like shouting and screaming and running away, and these bears are chasing them. Now that looks like a scene from a funny movie,
Right.
where you're just being chased around by these bears.
Exactly.
And every now and then they like take a swipe at you and catch you, but
that's probably not what happened.
Sam has the word.
So it's baka, which often means to break or split open, and here's the pia, which means to tear open. So I don't think they're like like that's probably not that. Like it's probably like shredding them. There's with a lot of flesh being torn apart.
oh wow.
Would be the implication there.
But it's not the word for kill.
Sure, it's not the word for kill. I agree
Gotcha.
with that.
But there's damage.
I would assume so. Which this is a sad thing. And while we're in Kentucky, my dog got attacked probably by a coyote.
Oh wow.
And she's got
Oh,
a bunch
no.
of she's got a bunch of tear open spots where she's slowly healing. She's doing fine, but like yeah. So like it's that, but probably worse because those bear claws, man.
Oh, man.
It's bad news.
I know I eat them all the time. They're just
Oh my gosh.
Now, what dictionary are you using for that?
I forget which one this is. I don't remember. It's sorry.
Is it Hallett?
It is not Hallett.
Okay, so I might want to look into that a little bit more.
Okay.
curiosity has been piqued.
I mean, some of the generic definition things that come with the apps.
Oh yeah, it's better than that. It's
Okay,
better than like
so-
like just Strongs or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a level above that, but I don't think
Okay.
it's Hallett.
Gotcha. How's kind of the gold standard?
Yeah.
Was it stand for Hebrew and Aramaic lexicon of the Old Testament?
Yes.
It's like a 4-volume set, or been reduced to 2 volumes.
2.5. I think there's a
Okay,
third. Yeah. Yeah, I mean for a long time, and nothing has really replaced it. The Naidati, the New International Dictionary of Old Testament Theology and Exegesis, that's a long acronym, is great, but doesn't do every word, right? It just does just theologically significant
It's more
words,
like
but it's fantastic.
encyclopedic
Yeah.
definitions.
That's a fantastic series as well.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a New Testament companion as well.
Yes.
Oh, I haven't seen the New Testament.
Nidadint. Just replace the L with an N. That's
I
it.
know that's horrible trying to get that end sound in there. So
That was just a little aside on biblical studies resources, because that's partly what you come for.
Yeah.
It's a podcast.
I can do more here because there's a lot going on here. Like, they do get right, go away, bald head. A lot of old translations say, go on up, Baldy, because he's on his way to Bethel, which at the time was a place of, there's the golden calf there. Like, this is apostasy, right? This is a non-Orthodox Yahweh site.
Okay.
And he's headed there. And so some of the sites are like, or some of the translations are go on up. But I think this is probably right, where they're saying, go away. They know he's a prophet of Yahweh. They don't want him there, right? So they're saying, go away, Baldy, which the baldness may be actual baldness or may be a sign of his prophetic role. Lots of things going on. But the point is, they don't want him there. So they're mocking him, but they're also displaying a desire to not have him and his Yahwistic presence.
Yeah, like defending the Baal worship that's happening,
Yes.
like protecting the cult center that is an illegitimate cult center from a legitimate prophet doing a takedown.
Right. And so they're mocking at the one hand, but the other hand, they're showing their true religious colors, which is they don't want only Yahwism.
So the mauling could be as much about the mocking as the defending the Bethel shrine.
Right. I think it's more.
So
I
it's
think it's
idolatry.
more that. Yes.
And I think
And
it's
that's
important.
These are idolaters.
Right.
Yeah.
Which makes it more palatable for modern audiences. Like, oh yeah, God takes this seriously. It's not like some kids made fun of him, like kill them. Like that's not what's happening. Right. It's an affront to God, and that's why the punishment is so harsh, which is less funny, but I think is what is going on here.
But I think it's a really important point to make because people can just look at it and think that this is a horrific thing, and the Bible is just another one of those bad things in the Bible. But to see it as an attack on Yahweh and his prophet, and this is Yahweh defending himself in the face of idolaters, is an important part of the story, and it shouldn't be lost. We can laugh about the funny things about it, but we don't want to miss the important points.
Oh, and it just makes a strong case. This is a great case study of why it's good to learn biblical languages, because something more is going on in the text that is lost in English translations.
Right.
And so if you're a student in a graduate program or undergraduate program, you have to write a research paper, an exegesis paper on a Bible passage or an Old Testament passage. This is a great case study to kind of get into the nitty-gritty. What do the commentators say? If you have Hebrew skills, put them to use and see how it can help a passage come alive in a fresh way.
Yeah.
So sweet. I learned something. I didn't know that. I've never got into this
Oh.
in the Hebrew, and I've had no one expose me to that before. So great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, I won't say what I was about to say. It'd be inappropriate.
I mean, it doesn't happen as often where we see passages in a totally new way. So
Yeah.
I love it when it happens.
I agree with you. Moving on to our next passage, it's in 2 Kings as well. 2 Kings chapter 9. This is verses 17 through 20. Beginning verse 17, it says, "In Jezreel, the sentinel standing on the tower spied the company of Jehu arriving and said, 'I see a company.'" That's the funny part.
Impressive.
Yeah. Joram said, "Take a horseman, send him to meet them, and let him say, 'Is it peace?'" So the horseman went to meet him and said, "Thus says the king, 'Is it peace?'"
They followed orders
Exactly. I love that.
to the letter.
To the letter. Jehu responded, "What have you to do with peace? Fall behind me." The sentinel reported, saying, "The messenger reached them, but he is not coming back." Then he sent out a second horseman who came to them and said, "Thus says the king, 'Is it peace?'" Jehu answered, "What have you to do with peace? Fall behind me." Again the sentinel reported, "He reached them, but he's not coming back. It looks like the driving of Jehu, son of Nimshi, because he drives like a maniac." And that's the funny part of the end there. Driving
He's
like a maniac.
A reputation for being a crazy horse driver, or of course, a chariot driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes me think of, like, my wife and I, our house, we live on a side street in our neighborhood, but we're right, like, 2 houses in from one of the main streets that goes through Lansing, MLK. And it drives us crazy, especially me being a country boy, because it's just nothing but people racing up and down. You got hot rods and motorcycles, and it's just nonstop. And it just makes me think of the kinds of things that we have up and down our street. Evidently, Jehu would be out there, going crazy, driving up the street just like that, because he drives like a maniac.
All right, real talk. How would people describe your driving? Each of you.
Interesting.
Interesting question or interesting driving?
So
no, interesting question.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think anybody would say I drive like a maniac. Now on the highway, I'll admit I'm not going to go at these, the precise speed. I've talked to enough state troopers to know what speed I can go at and be safe. So, so I'm not afraid to, go as fast as I can. I did not drive like a maniac, though. I don't think anybody would describe that. In fact, Sam, you've gotten on me where I stopped at a red light that you're like, you could have got through that.
Yep.
You're not wrong, but I chose to stop. So,
yeah, maybe aggressive. I mean, like on the open highway, it's cruise control at a speed that I won't get a ticket, but it's faster than the posted speed limit. But like local driving, I kind of get into like Grand Prix mode or old video time. Like if we're on like Saginaw, like 2-lane highways and there's a passing lane or multiple lanes to work with, I'm playing pole position and kind of working around. Like so, I make unnecessary lane switches, and if I go at this speed and pass this guy, I'll make this next light, and so I kind of gamify it a little bit. That, my wife doesn't always appreciate.
Yeah.
I'm in the exact same boat. Aggressive, not maybe aggressive, although less aggressive than I was much younger. But I'm definitely trying to get moving. I want to get to where I'm going. I'm not out for a Sunday drive, right? So if I can add 3 or take off 3 seconds, I'm going for it.
3 seconds. Well, I think that's kind of what I realized a lot of years ago is that you're talking about a difference of usually seconds.
I know.
And
doesn't matter.
Once upon a time, I was like, yeah, those 3 seconds matter to me. And I don't know, maybe it's because 60 is not too far off for me age-wise. I'm just like, it's just not as big a deal anymore.
Yeah, the seconds don't matter to me. It's the gamification
the
of
feeling,
it.
I'm
it's
the
experience.
Yeah.
It's it's just it's more like a game.
Well, and granted, if I get behind somebody who's going too slow, I'm like, come on, let's get going here, and I'll get around him if I can. So it's not like I'm a slowpoke, but I don't think I care as much as I used to. Like even gamifying it, I'm just like, I got good music on the radio or I got a podcast going. Takes as long as it takes.
I was zipper merged before it was cool.
Yes, that's the next thing I was going to say. And if anyone who's never seen me drive knows anything about my driving, I'm devoted to the zipper merge.
Yeah. I mean, if that's what it's for. I'm going up that lane and then we're getting over at the last. I know people get mad about it, but that's life.
And if you're one of those people who, when there's a traffic merge and you get in single file 3 miles before the merge and cast judgment on anyone who follows the law and uses both lanes until the point of the merger, then you just need to Google zipper merge and find out it's the law, it's the best practice, it's most efficient. You think you're being kind and courteous, but you're not. You're being a jerk and you're slowing everyone down. And you might be being self-righteous, and because I moved over and this person is speeding by, they're a bad person.
Always to say,
wow, getting some real insights into your views on things.
Oh, I'm right with them, but always to say, apparently Jehu was an aggressive driver. I would like to know what it meant for him to be a maniac on a chariot. Yeah. Like, what's going on with that?
See, I imagine he's having a good time. Like, he's got power, he's up there, he's got control.
It's good to be
probably
king.
got the best horses, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he's just kind of like, woo, like, I see him having a good time.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Because how could they see the speed, right? Except from, like, the smoke from the dirt of the galloping horses. But, like, I imagine they're seeing movement from left to right.
Yeah.
Because that's what you can see from a distance.
Yeah, I feel like it's a Dukes of Hazzard situation. There's jumping things and flying around corners, unnecessarily so.
Yeah, that chariot's just like bouncing across the land, and like, who drives a chariot that way?
But I mean, to have that reputation, that's what's so funny. He has the reputation.
Of being a
That's
crazy
hilarious.
Yeah. How old was he at this point? I wanted to check that out, and then I kind of forgot. Because I'm wondering, like, is he one of these young kings? Is he still a teenager?
Or is he an old man?
I know, right? Because that changes.
Off to the side.
Can't see well enough. That's why he drives like a maniac. His vision is gone.
Oh, we're really going slow today.
Sorry,
we're getting sidetracked on other conversations.
Okay, I talked to my wife yesterday about the podcast, and I said, have you listened to the humor series? And she's mostly caught up, and she said, but I don't listen to all the episodes. And she said this again. I mostly tune in to hear the first part, where we're giving our life updates. Like for some reason, she just finds that. It's really important to her.
Because you don't talk to me anymore, John, and I have to get all my information from the podcast.
More can be said there.
We'll move on.
It's funny. She learns a lot by overhearing me talk to other people
Yeah.
because our lives are hectic enough that, and we have people living with us and stuff like that we don't have as much emptiness quality
Sure.
time to get caught up in each other's lives. So so she probably is learning stuff on the podcast. But she well knows about the pool debacle because she gets to watch me out there into long hours of the night and early morning hours. So, all right, moving on to the next passage. We're in the book of Esther, chapter 6.
Finally.
And this is just a funny story in general, what happens to Haman. And big picture, lots of people are familiar with the storyline, but Haman is a Persian ruler who is upwardly mobile and ambitious and a little bit power hungry, and he expects the commoners, right, throughout the Persian province to pay him respect and honor him, and he's enough of a public figure that people do that. He walks by, they kind of bow and, pay him honor. But Mordecai, the Jew, and it's that phrase shows up a lot in this book, Mordecai the Jew. There are reasons for that we talk about in our Esther series. But anyway, Mordecai has snubbed him. And so he has, the whole plot of the book revolves around how Haman is convinced the king that all Jews are troublemakers and that they need to be snuffed out from the whole empire. And so an edict has been given by the king, thinking he's just doing what's best for his empire because Haman is trying to get Mordecai. And then in the midst of this storyline, this extremely ironic thing happens. On that night, the king of Persia, could not sleep, and he gave orders to bring the book of records, the annals, and they were read to the king. It was found written how Mordecai had told about Bigthana. And
I love that, Big Thana.
The way the hyphen separates it on this Bible.
Big Thana.
Bigthana, yeah. And Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs, who guarded the threshold and who conspired to kill King Ahasuerus. Then the king said, "What honor or distinction has been bestowed upon Mordecai for this?" All right, so there was a plot to kill the king, and Mordecai foiled it and exposed it. And the king is just, doing some late night reading and says, "Wow, Mordecai saved my life. What have we done for this guy?" So the king's servants who attended him said, "Nothing has been done for him." The king said, "Who is in the court?" Now Haman had just entered the outer court of the king's palace to speak to the king about having Mordecai hung on the pole that he had prepared for him. So Mordecai has prepared a gallows, or this says pole here. Haman has, thank you. And he was planning on hanging Mordecai. So anyway, he's preparing that, and the king summons him. So the king's servants told him, Haman is here, standing in the court. The king said, "Let him in." So Haman came in, and the king said to him, "What shall be done for the man whom the king wishes to honor?" Now Haman said to himself, "Whom would the king wish to honor more than me?" So he's like, "What would I want the king to do for me?" So Haman said to the king, "For the man whom the king wishes to honor, let royal robes be brought, which the king has worn, and a horse that the king has ridden, with a royal crown on its head. Let the robes and the horse be handed over to one of the king's most noble officials. Let him robe the man whom the king wishes to honor, and let him conduct the man on horseback through the open square of the city, proclaiming before him, 'Thus shall it be done for the man whom the king wishes to honor.'" Then the king said to Haman, "Quickly, take the robes and the horse, as you have said, and do so to Mordecai the Jew, who sits at the king's gate. Leave out nothing that you have mentioned." So Haman took the robes and the horse and robed Mordecai and led him riding through the open square of the city, proclaiming, "Thus it shall be done for the man whom the king wishes to honor."
Yeah, we talked about it before. I think when we did was it a series or was talking about the movie of Esther? But this book is so well written, and there are a lot. I mean, this is kind of like it shows how narrative works well. And there's lots of different points. You have irony, you have suspense, you have hyperbole, and this is just a great example of sort of the great irony, the setup, and making the character look foolish, and it's just really well done. And I wish there were more pauses, more ellipses, quickly take the robes and do so to ellipses Mordecai.
Dun, 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 Mordecai.
just like to build the suspense and then dropping the hammer. It's just so good.
Well, and this is where it does work really well in the movie because you can see, Haman is just like he's so full of himself, and he's like, it's got to be me. Who else could he possibly be talking about? And so he just comes up with the most elaborate thing that he thinks is gonna make him look so good, and then to turn the tables, and this is other instances where I want to imagine, a storyteller in a small Jewish village who's in front of a crowd and he's telling the story and everybody's really listening to him and they're like, oh, what's going to happen? And the king says, do it for Mordecai. And everybody just bursts out laughing. It's like this
cheering,
roar. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly how this would have functioned, right, in Judean communities, because Esther was a book that was read during a festival, right, the festival of Purim, as celebrated by the Jewish people, and apparently the practice, the tradition is that it was dramatically read, and it was kind of like crowd interactive, and so they recognized this as a fun story, and once a year had a celebratory event where they kind of had a interactive reading with, and like when Haman or Haman, however you want to say it, whenever his name is read, like the crowd would go boo and jeer and hiss, and then when Esther is, they're like, yay, or Mordecai, woo,
Yeah.
And so it was like what you're describing, what you're picturing was an actual festival with a reading that was interactive with the crowd, having a good time, and I think it was made to function. If you read the end of the book, this book was composed for its use to why do we celebrate this festival?
Right.
And it's linked within the storyline of the book itself to the festival, and it played a significant role.
It makes me think of, this is totally not a good example, but it makes me think about when I was a kid, on the weekends, there was a movie theater that every night they ran a Rocky Horror Picture Show. And there were people who went every single showing. And they would dress up in the costumes and they would act out the movie while the movie was playing. Would they have even had actors? Like, you've got the narrator who's telling the story, but would there have even been maybe a few actors up there who are like, they're not saying the lines, but they're acting out the parts as part of the portrayal of it?
The more creative villagers.
Yeah.
I bet they had a wide variety of ways they did this.
Yeah.
And I know for a long time, do you still do it? Like when I was teaching Esther, when I taught the OT cycle here, we would do that as a class. I brought costumes to the class, like a box of props, and like, Haman's officials had little like, sheriff stars on them, and like sashes, Miss Persia for Esther to wear, and so as a class we celebrated together.
Yeah.
And you've continued that tradition in some form.
Yeah, we do. And well, I would say that, like, I don't know when it started, but that's called a spiel, right? Where they actually create this sort of drama with different characters. And so modern day definitely does that. I went to a synagogue in when was it? February, March, and they had a Dr. Seuss version of the story that they acted out. Yeah, it was really very good. But yeah, we still do it in class. I do a different version of it. But yeah, it's fun to see them acting it out and doing it. And the students who are not participating have a great time just mocking their classmates. But a lot of videos get taken and then posted to some sort of format. But yeah, I don't know when it started having different actors and things, but it definitely lends itself to that. And this is it's just good storytelling. And it's just funny where, like, the old switcheroo, and it leads into the next one where the same sort of thing happens. But like for me, it just strikes me as like these soap operas growing up where like they're going this one way and you think, oh, good, like the protagonist is going to win, and all of a sudden the tables get turned on them, like no, and but it's the opposite. It's for the people you're rooting for. And chapter 7 continues the same sort of thing. So Haman's not happy, trying to kill Mordecai, and Esther tries to fix things by having this little get-together with the king. I'll start in chapter 7, verse 1. The king and Haman went in to feast with Queen Esther. On the second day, as they were drinking wine, the king again said to Esther, "What's your petition, Queen Esther? It shall be granted to you. And what is your request? Even a half my kingdom, it shall be fulfilled." Then Queen Esther answered, "If I have won your favor, O king, and it please the king, let my life be given me. That is my petition, and the lives of my people. That is my request. For we have been sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be killed, to be annihilated. If we had been sold merely as slaves, men and women, I would have held my peace. But no enemy can compensate for this damage to the king." Then King Ahasuerus and said to Queen Esther, "Who is he? "Where is he who has presumed to do this?" And this is that turning the tables where I wish there was pauses. And Esther said, "A foe and an enemy. This wicked Haman." And like, he's right there. And of course, Haman was terrified before the king and the queen. Again, I'm assuming if they were being told the story, they start just cheering like crazy.
Going nuts.
Right?
Yep.
And then, but the story's not over. And this is where it gets really soap opera-y for me. The king rose from the feast in wrath and went to the palace garden, but Haman stayed to beg his life from Queen Esther, for he saw the king and determined to destroy him. When the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet hall, Haman had thrown himself on the couch where Esther was reclining. And the king said, "Will he even violate the queen in my presence in my own house?" As the words left the mouth of the king, they covered Haman's face. And so, it's the classic, like, you misunderstand something that happened. Like, soap operas happens all the time. Like, guys there, and they fall down, and they're, like, giggling, like, "Oh, I can't believe this happened." And then, like, the boyfriend or husband walks in, like, "What are you doing? How dare you defile my wife?" Like, "No, I swear, it was an accident." Like, there's no accident here. And Haman knew his goose was cooked, as the saying goes.
Right. But it's such a funny scene because you like, in his just wild desperation, knowing that he's going to die, he throws himself on the queen, begging for his life. And the king comes back and like, "What are you doing to my wife?"
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And here he's not even guilty of molesting the queen, but it's just the great reversal. Like all the momentum was headed this guy's way.
Yeah.
Up until chapter 6, and now they've turned a corner, and he's starting to lose everything. And of course, the story ends with him being hung on the pole.
The very gallows he built for Mordecai, right?
Yeah. And so, great. I mean, we could have, like we did a deep dive into the Gideon story. We could have done a deep dive into Esther because there's a lot of elements in here that are humorous. But in general, it's just a really well-told story that if you're rooting for Esther's team, it's funny. If you're not, it's tragic.
Right.
Yeah, if you've got your Go Esther flags, you're really happy at the end. If you've got your Go Haman flags, you're like, man, we lost.
And I love the fact they cover his face on the way out. Like, the king doesn't want to see your face ever again. Like, immediately we're covering it. Like, that's just their instinct, right? That we better cover this guy's face. Like, is it protecting him?
Is that how
or
you read
like,
that?
Yeah, how do you think it?
I read it as, like, euphemistic. Like, the words cover his face, meaning, like, I don't know. It for me, it's not an actual physical thing. It's he knew he was done. That's interesting.
What verse is that again?
Verse 8.
Verse 8. When the king returned.
They seems to mean the words.
Yeah, they covered. Oh, as the words left. So when he violated the queen presence in my own house, as the words left his mouth of the king, they covered his face.
The nearest predecessor was words, not the servants. But then the eunuchs come along. I don't know.
Yeah, like I interpret it as the servants who were getting him
right.
covered his face. Oh, that's interesting.
I don't know.
I like to see the. Yeah, is there a phrase like that?
Yeah. Words
covering the face. Because if that's an established phrase elsewhere in the Hebrew Bible, that would be like, oh yeah, that's the way to go with this thing.
Yeah, for all the time I've thought of it as more metaphorical, not actual. So I guess see, we learn stuff too. We're gonna go check it out after this.
How about you, Ron? Have you read that one?
I can't even adjudicate.
He doesn't read.
That,
hasn't even noticed.
I think I lean more
Testament.
towards the literal reading of it. Like they just cover, like you said, it's like, I don't even want to look at you anymore, and so they cover him up. Don't want to see your face. So king doesn't want to see your face. We're gonna make sure he doesn't see your face.
Another topic for research.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think like a modern phrase is like when in soccer, like he covered himself in glory, meaning like he did really well, or they say he didn't cover himself in glory, meaning he screwed up badly. Like they're not actually covering himself. Anyway,
I see your point though. That's an interesting read on it.
Well, do we have notes in our study Bible?
probably not.
Verse. What was the verse? The king.
Okay, they say the shame foreseen in 6:12 through 13 is complete, as now the king's words covered Haman's face.
Yeah. So they went
they
in the
agree
same direction.
But I mean, I see what you're saying. I never read it that way, but interesting. All right, we're spending a lot of time on minutia.
That's what we do here. It's kind of part of the fun.
All right.
All right. So moving on to the next passage, we're going to move into the book of Psalms.
I'll just say we're interestingly moving from a lot of narrative stories to poetry or other statement. I think it's more the type of humor is going to change because we're like more phrases oriented rather than story oriented.
Right. And what I like about this, it's Psalm 115. And this is a great thing that you see in the Old Testament, especially when you get into even the prophets, because there's places in the prophets that do this. But it's the mockery of idolatry. And I think we saw a little bit like when we were in the book of Judges. Sometimes the stories themselves are designed to mock the idolatry of not only the foreign nations, but of Israel itself. But the people of God have no problem with this. They love to mock idolatry. Psalm 115, beginning in verse 4, says, their idols are silver and gold, the work of human hands. They have mouths, but they don't speak. They have eyes, but they don't see. They have ears, but they do not hear. They have noses, but they do not smell. They have hands, but they do not feel. They have feet, but they do not walk. They make no sound in their throats. And so just looking at every aspect of an idol, and you're like, it doesn't do anything. It can't see. Why do you care so much about this idol? It can't see. It can't hear you. Speak to it all day long. It can't understand what you're saying. And so it may not come across to us as like, funny, but it's part of a broader scheme that you see throughout the Old Testament. And that is just mocking the stupidity of idol worship.
It's like ear hair. Like we have it, but what does it do for us?
Absolutely nothing. Although I guess when you're walking in the woods, like if a bug flies towards your ear, maybe you're kind of happy to have a little bit of something there. But most of the time, I agree, it does nothing for us.
But you got to read verse 8 because it all comes together in verse 8. Like he's mocked the idol, but that's not the point. Just to mock the idol.
Yep. Those who make them are like them. So are all who trust in them.
There's the slam.
Yeah, and so I like that part because it says, if you worship idols, you're just like them. You don't see, you don't hear.
Mute.
Yep, you're an idiot. Is what it comes down to.
Yeah. And that makes a nice transition to the next one because sometimes these poems make fun of people. And
Sure.
I think in Proverbs we have a couple of Proverbs that are funny. I think the one you're going to read is a little bit funnier. But I have Proverbs 6:6, and this was suggested by one of our listeners, a passage they found particularly funny. And this is about admonitions to a young person, my child, and this is just going back to the beginning of the chapter. My child, if you have given a pledge to your neighbor, if you have bound yourself to another, you are snared by utterance of your lips, caught by the words of your mouth. So do this, my child, and save yourself, for you have come to your neighbor's power. Go, hurry, and plead with your neighbor. Give your eyes no sleep, and your earlids no slumber. Save yourself like a gazelle from the hunter, like a bird from the hand of the fowler. So it's, just practical advice about how to, if you've kind of made a pledge, and you got to resolve it. So it's practical wisdom. So the funny one is verse 6. Go to the ant, you lazy bones.
Lazy bones.
Consider its ways and be wise. And I think this passage is funnier is it the King James or NIV?
Probably King James.
And it's usually go to the ant, you sluggard.
You sluggard.
And it's just it's making fun of someone for being lazy and say, look at this little insect. Look at how hard it works and provides for its family and builds things and accomplishes things. That's your role model. And you are lazy. You have not lived up to the work ethic of an insect. and so lazy bones is the NRSV UE, but sluggard is just a catchier phrase.
I will say in your notes it says slugger without the D.
Oh, does it?
Which makes me laugh. Like,
no, slugger.
Look to the ant, you slugger. You big baseball hitter. Hit another dinger there, fella.
Yeah.
All right.
You don't have to add that D there.
You don't have to. Just more fun for us. The Proverbs have there are a lot of funny little things. So when I teach it, I have my students go through and just find funny, interesting little ones. And without fail, the one I'm going to do comes up because they live in dorms and it's an appropriate. In fact, I think they're in orientation. They should definitely talk about this. It's in chapter 27, verse 14. It says this: whoever blesses a neighbor with a loud voice, rising early in the morning, will be counted as a cursing. Which is true. You think you're like, just because you're up early doesn't mean everyone needs to be up with you.
Yeah. No, I've always loved that proverb because I think it's spot on, especially for those of us who don't wake up feeling like human beings. It takes me an hour, and as I get older, it takes longer. But I wake up in the morning, I just feel awful. And it's just, all the hormones getting put back in their proper place. And so an hour later, I feel like a regular human being. And I can remember, in fact, we had a former faculty member, I'm not going to mention by name, but had to go on a trip with this person and woke up in the morning before the light came on. Okay, it's still dark in the room. Before the light came on, he just went, "Good morning." And I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh, no, you don't.
Oh, no, you don't.
You do not good morning me like that in the morning. It was awful. Overly friendly. Overly friendly in the morning.
Overly peppy for morning time. There's an
Way too
appropriate
much.
tone of voice in the morning.
I agree.
It's usually whisper.
Agree.
Soft with like a gentle pat on the shoulder.
Even touching would be bad. Don't touch me. Get away from me. I'll talk to you when I'm ready.
When I was in youth ministry, when waking students up, I would always sing to them. But like it'd be like, "It's just another day for you and me in paradise." Just like that. Not loud, not obnoxious, just kind of like, we're all tired, but let's go.
Yeah, my dad had this tradition when we were younger, and when he was tasked to wake us up. And he's like old school. He was in the military, and
Right.
so like they woke up at the crack of dawn, and so he would he had this memory of the revelry,
Yeah.
is what they
Yeah.
call it,
Revelry.
and he'd be like, "Do do 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 do
man.
do do
Oh, my
do," and then
gosh.
it's filling up the room like, "No, Dad," burying your head under the pillow, and yeah, my older brother would do more obnoxious things and like throw water on your face or rip your blankets off you all of a sudden and. Yeah.
The brotherly love.
But what's funny? Partly, what's funny about this is curse language is pretty strong in the Hebrew tradition, right? Like, in Deuteronomy, there's like these, blessings that God will bless the people with if they keep the laws and keep Torah, and there are curses that would be upon the people, which is their downfall and how they get thrown into exile, they lose the kingdom and all that stuff. And so, cursing language is pretty important. Like, just look at. Elisha and the she-bears.
Yeah.
Right? And so, just the person who greets you loudly in the morning, may a curse be upon them. And that's just funny because we can all relate.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about Proverbs.
And be careful. Like you may wake up someone and a she bear might get you. You never know.
Could go bad.
Could go badly.
Yeah.
Well,
We're out of time.
we're out of time. There's more humor to be found, even in the Proverbs. And so when we get back next time, we'll get to it. Until then, thanks for joining us on another episode of the After Class podcast. After Class because
The best conversations happen.
After class.
Thank you again for listening to this episode of the After Class podcast. ACP is hosted by Sam Long, John Nugent, and Ron Peters. Social media pictures and descriptions are provided by Darren Harris. Audio mixing and editing is done by Drew Nyquist. If you've enjoyed this episode of ACP, you might also enjoy GLCC's Master of Arts in Practical Theology degree. In this 36-hour program, you will receive first-rate biblical and theological instruction from John, Ron, Sam, and several of their colleagues at Great Lakes Christian College. To learn more about this program, visit glcc.edu. Get practical and go deep at GLCC.